To start, you're going to focus on asset preparation. This is where you bring together the geometry and textures to create a USD-based asset. To do this, you will use the component builder, which makes it easier for artists to create first-class USD that will work reliably throughout all stages of the pipeline. So let's start by going File, Set Project. Here we are in the Houdini Projects directory. Go into Market Lesson, which has a Source Assets directory, and press Accept. And all of our work will get saved here, and we'll be able to draw in those assets that are in that folder. Let's go File, Save As. And in that same directory, we're going to create a file called Market Assets .hip. And this will be the file we use to create the assets. Now, let's use a different desktop. So we're going to go to Solaris. This is a desktop specifically designed to work with Solaris. So let's start by going into here and going Tab, Component Builder. And this creates a set of a few nodes, and we're going to use these to prep an asset. So it has a component geometry, the geometry coming in, materials, bringing those materials and geometry together, and then a node for output. And we'll take advantage of all of these. We're going to start by diving into the component geometry. This takes us down to the geometry level. And we want to get one of the files. So we're going to go Tab File, place there. And we're going to wire that into default. And we're going to get Source Assets, Bucket Geo. And if we go spacebar H, we can take a look. There's the bucket asset, and it's been brought into here and ready to go. So let's go back up to the stage level. And in here, what we see is we have the material library here, and this is a place where normally you could go in and add material, build up materials of your own. But instead of doing that, we're going to delete that. And on the component material here, we're going to say Add a Quick Surface Material. And this is a material that has already been stored as USD, and we're going to edit it and give it a new name, and then be able to use it on here. So it's like a bit of an Uber material, but it's very efficient because it's all set up, already set up in USD, and we can go from there. Now we're going to change the name of this to Bucket MTL. Now if we click on this, we can go and we get a bunch of different sections to work with. So we're going to start with here. We're going to go Color Map, Set or Create. It puts a UV map on by default. We're going to go here. And we go make sure we got $hip, source files, bucket texture, and we're going to bring in the color map and assign that on. And you see, there it is, ready to go. Now, we want to add some other things, so we're going to go in and change this to 0.7 for metalness. And then we're going to get a metalness map, which we're going to bring in from here, metallic. There we go. Then we're going to go into specular roughness, which we're going to set roughness to 0.5. And then we're going to put a roughness map, set or create, and roughness. Accept. Perfect. Now we're going to go down to the bump section. We're going to leave this set at height. We're going to go set or create. And from there, we're going to go and get the height map there. And you can get in and look at that if you want. Now, one of the things sort of nice in here, if we go, let's go spacebar D, go background, and let's go dark with the background there. Just to helps punch out the textures and turn off the grid. We don't need that while we're working here. And we want to get a feel of what's this like rendered. We can go Karma XBU. It's going to think about it and then give us a rendered version of that. And because we've this material is material X, we actually can look at this as in XPU. We can also turn on the denoiser to speed things up, the resolution of the noise a little bit, and we can tumble around and it stays more or less rendered the whole time. So very nice to work with XPU and its speed. Now once you've got that, we want to rename this component output to bucket, because that name does play a role in when we go to output this later. Then we're going to go back into the polygonal geometry, and we're going to put down a poly reduce node. We're going to place that here, feed the file into there, set the display. Or we could feed this into the proxy and display that. So now we can go in and let's just change the percentage to keep to 5%. So this is going to be quite reduced quite a bit. This is to create proxy geometry so that we don't always have to display the full geometry in the viewport. So this is a very nice thing to work with. And we can say preserve quads and use original point positions, can be helpful as well. Yeah. And then we can also save that as the sim proxy as well in there. And I'll set the default back to there. Now we go back to the stage level and we've finished up our asset, and it's looking pretty good there. So we go to the bucket node, and this is where we want to save to disk. And there's a whole bunch of things in here where it's naming things, and there's a whole bunch of things being done to make this into a good USD asset. So we're going to click on there, and we're going to go save to disk. Now to see what this looks like, we're going to go tab sublayer, place that down, and we can go get the file that we just, so $hip USD assets bucket, and there's a whole bunch of things, but the one we need is bucket.usd, and that's going to go into there. And if we set display on that, well, you'll see it looks pretty much the same, because it everything that we did above has now been placed in here. Now let's add a grid node. We're going to put that under there. We're going to call that ground. And we're going to double click in and change the size to 100. Tab 100. Just make that a little bigger. Then go back up to the stage. And we're going to go tab karma physical sky, and this will add a nice sort of a easy to work with lighting onto this. Now if we don't want to see the UI on that, we can just click here to hide that, and we can change let's change this to 30 and 180, and this is just for preview purposes. I mean, we could go a little higher with that as well if we wanted, but you know what, let's stick with the 30. Okay, so there we go, the bucket. This is what it's like rendering as XPU. So now let's see what we can do with this to create a new asset. So we want to do a cooking pot. So in the network view, we can select the 4 things that we have here. Alt click to drag that over, and we create copies here. Now, to make sure that this is unique, we're going to go to this and go cooking pot, and then what we can do is we can go into here and get a different file. So we're going to go up, cooking pot. Now sometimes files that should be showing up here don't show up, so we know that the ones we're looking for are BGOs, so we're going to just select BGO there, and there's the file. So all the files in this project right there are BGO, so we can do that. So now we have this new cooking pot, and it's also feeding into the poly reduce and poly proxy, so we see that. Now in this case, that's not giving us a lot of maybe too little detail. So in this case, we can go in 30 and just give it a little bit more detail. But set this back to default. Go back up to the stage, and if we set this as our display, we see the bucket material on there. So we need to change this to say cooking pot MTL, and we need to replace these texture maps. So we're going to take the base color, cooking pot textures. There we go. Base color is now going to look like that. Metallic is going to be there. And if you want to, one of the things you can do, which makes things that will go to the right directory, is I'm going to go copy. And then when we go down to, let's say, specular, I can paste it in here. And then when I click on here, I'm going in the right directory, so it's easier for me to pick roughness there. Similarly, I can go down to bump, control paste, then I click on here and go get the height map. And there we go. Now we see that everything is looking the way that it should. It's got the right kind of texture on it, and it's looking great. So now that we've named everything properly and we've done this, we can go here and simply, like we did before, save to disk. Now while we do that, what we can do is take these three over here and let's drag that over. Let's set the display on Karma, and we go sublayer, and let's go up cooking pot USD, and that should give us, yes, there we go. So now we see the cooking pot and how that asset is looking. So this is the kind of thing that you would do for all of your assets. And we're going to go through quite a number of them, because while a lot of them are the same, there are some unique scenarios that we do have to consider. So let's go up, and we want to make a table. And so again, we're going to take this and we're going to alt-click to drag this over. This time, we're going to call this table, and we're going to call this table material. Now, it's very important while you do this that you remember to edit all the parts for this to work. So right now this looks like a pot, but we're going to dive into the component geometry, select the file node, and we're going to go up, table, and again it's not showing us the BGO, so we're going to select that there, and we're going to accept. And there's a table that we have there. And the poly reduce, maybe this case we'll use 20. That should give us, yeah, that's pretty good there. The key is that if you middle click on here, you'll see we've got 2,000 points, and click on here, we've got 500 points. So we've been able to reduce it in complexity. Go back to the stage. Not the nicest looking table yet. We want to again go to here, up, table texture, and base color. Right now it's looking a little better. And control paste and go metallic, paste, and this will be roughness, paste, and now we can go now in this case we don't have a roughness, a height map. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to say do nothing. Change that to a normal map. And in this case, we're going to say set or create. Then we can go paste. And we can say normal. And there we go. That'll give us the look that we want on the table. And if we want to zoom in on that, we can get a look for it there. And if we want the bump scale to be, let's put that up to 2, and I think we'll notice a little more of it. We want to maybe set our specular roughness to 0.4, and our metalness maybe a little bit stronger to 0.8. There we go. So now we've got all the different parts of the table set up, and that's doing the trick. And we're going to take this, and just like we did before, all we have to do, once we've got the name, all this stuff filled out, again, we can go save to disk. And notice how I've got confidence that it's going to set it up the way that I need it to. And to verify, but it's always good to verify, bring this over, and all we're going to do is set the current physical sky, go to the sublayer. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to go up. We're going to pick table, and we accept that. And there we go. So now we can zoom in, and we can feel it, and there we go. We've got the table set up as a proper asset. Now, once we have assets like this, one of the things you can do is you can, if you look at this menu here, we've been looking at the final render. If we click on preview, now we're looking at the lower quality one. And we're going to be using this menu at various points to go back and forth, because as the scene gets more complex, we're going to want to use the proxy. This uses proxy geometry or proxy with guides instead of just the straight up final render. But if we go final render, then we're going to see the asset the way it is. And that's something that will become more important later as our scene gets more complex. Okay, so we're going to do this again for the tent. And Alt. Now this one I think has some slight differences to it, and what we'll be able to do is check that out. So we'll go tent material. So it's good to get those names right. Go back into the component geometry. Just zoom into there. And we're going to go there. Go up. Tent. Oh, we don't go into there. Again, for some reason it's not showing. I need BGOs, so there's the BGO. Accept. And there we go. You can see it there. Now, once we go in, we go up to this there, and if we go, one thing we haven't looked at yet is what's going on in the scene graph over here. So now if we set the display on the tent here, so we see the tent, we see that there's the tent, there's the geo, proxy render, and so on, and there's the material. But the tent has two parts. It has a cloth part and it has the posts on the side. And we need to deal with that slight difference. So what we want to do is go back into here, and we're going to put a tab names from group. We're going to put that there. We're going to put that there. And we're going to take this and we're going to just go star. We don't need pieces star, we just need star. Now, if we go back up to the stage level and we go look at the asset and with the geo, you'll see under here we now have supports and text, supports intent, supports intent. So there's two different parts now, so that's good. Now, the issue here is that there are now a need for a second material. So first let's set up the tent material. This would be similar to what we've done so far. So let's go there. Tent. We're going to get the tent base color. And there is no metallic for this one. And we'll just set that to 0. And roughness, we're going to go 0.6. And double click this. There we go. And there's the roughness. So this one only has the 2. We don't need that. And we can just turn that off. Okay, so there we go. So now we've got the tent texture on, but right now it's more or less being applied to everything. So we need a second material. So we select the component material here, and we're going to do an add and do another quick service material, and that adds another one here. We're going to call this the support material. And that, now you'll notice this sort of knocks off the assignment, so we're going to have to fix the assignment here. But in the meantime, let's go into here and let's set or create. Source materials, tent texture, and this time we're going to get the support base color. And this one does have some metallic, so we're going to go there and get the metallic. And we'll set metallic to 0.8. And then we've got roughness. So just like before. And then we go tent. Oh no, supports. Oh no, we don't have that there. Okay, so we don't have a roughness one. What we have instead, so we can set that back to do nothing, is we have a bump. And I believe that was a normal map. And normal, except. And maybe that gets set to 1. Okay, so now it's looking a little banged up here. Things are not looking the way they should because essentially this support material is now being assigned to everything. So what we need to do is we need to select things. So we're going to select this and we're going to say leaf primitives. And what that's going to allow us is to select this or this separately. Whereas if we had used the default one, we wouldn't have been able to do those separately. So these are leaf primitives, and we'll be able to work with those. So let's click on the ground to deselect for now. And then we're going to go to click to here, and we're going to click on the fabric part and press enter. And then we're going to click on here, and we're going to go materials, tent material. You want to see tent material. Okay, there we go, and that's been assigned properly. What we then do is we click plus here. We take this, and we select the poles, and then we take the material support, so the support material, and assign that. And now what we've done is we've been able to assign different components with different materials and make that part of our asset. So just like we did before, we can say, oh, what's it look like? Preview with guides. It's not working. And the reason for that is because you see how this is specifically targeting the render version. So what we need to do is we need to put a star in there. Oh, sorry, shift star. And put that in here as well, shift star. So we have to make sure that that's capable of seeing both the render version and the proxy version. So that's a good little quick thing to check there, and we can go back to final render there. So now we've got everything set up in here. We can go to our tent and go save to disk. And then, just like we've done before, let's do a test here. So we've got our Karma Physical Sky, and there's our table. We're going to go to the sublayer, pick, tent, tent.usd. Takes a second to kick in. Doesn't automatically, you can always restart render. And there we go. So now we've got the tent set up properly. It's got two different materials. All the components are set up and we're ready to go. So now let's take this and let's expand this out and just look at everything we've got so far. And I think what we want to do is start organizing things. So if we go Shift O, Shift O, okay, and if we want to, we can actually go C and just make this a darker gray, so it's a little different. Or maybe that one can be a lighter gray. Maybe go neutral with that. Let's take these ones and make those darker. Okay, so now we've got these various groups set up as network boxes, and this will make it easier to find these later as we work. We can also go in and rename these, so we can go in and just bucket, cooking pot, table, tent, and then we'll just call this test, so that we can test things as we go. And there we go. So now we've got a bunch of assets, 4 assets that we've created. We've put them on disk in a folder, and at the same time we've also tested them to make sure that they are functioning properly here in Solaris. So after this we're going to make more assets, but in the meantime let's save our work so far and we'll come back in a minute.